We are here at Functional Strength Rehabilitation with the esteemed Dr. Andrew Lock.
Dr. Scott, wonderful to be here.
And today we are going to go through some shoulder injury stuff. I particularly have a little bit of a complaint that I would like you to look at.
I don't think there's anyone who's ever done a bench press who at some point in their life hasn't had a shoulder pain.
Would you say there's maybe a little bit of a design flaw in the shoulder in terms of strength across the joint, external, internal rotation?
I think the flaw is actually probably in the way we all start training. I think people tend to look at training in a gym as if it's something that you automatically know how to do. People don't respect it enough. If you want to be a professional bodybuilder, you know what, it's like being a professional tennis player. You seriously need a coach. You can't just pick up a weight and suddenly think, oh, I'm going to know how to do this. So it takes coaching, and that's where the problems come. Most people are going into gyms, being given a key to the door and say, okay, go ahead and train in my 24-hour gym. And no one's teaching anyone how to do these things correctly. So it's almost like there's a lack of respect for the weights.
Yeah, right, okay. My particular issue has been developing over time, and apparently doing nothing about it isn't going to fix it. So I would like you to maybe give me a little bit of a diagnosis.
Why would it be that not doing anything about it doesn't fix it?
Because I just keep doing the same thing that aggravated it.
It's like having a flat tyre, parking the car and coming out and driving it again the next morning, damn, it's still flat.
Yep.
Problems with the shoulder, generally it's a movement issue. It's the way your muscles are firing off or not firing off. And so what we have to do is perhaps re-educate and find which are the lazy muscles. Often you'll find that the ones that are hurting are your good muscles. Okay. Because they're the ones who are doing the work. It's the ones that aren't doing the work that aren't complaining. So we'll tend to find, with shoulders especially, that there's some dysfunction in the movement itself.
Well, there are a lot of things that could go wrong, so obviously the correct diagnosis would be the first step. So my issue has been with pressing motions, but not overhead pressing motions, but more flat or any sort of decline motion. And the pain seems to be around here, but I notice there's just general instability in that shoulder as well. I can't fix it in place like I can my left shoulder, and it seems to want to roll forward and drift up.
Yeah, you've picked it straight away, so there's a movement dysfunction. And it may be that the movement dysfunction is as a result of having had pain, you've changed the way things are, or it may be the dysfunction led to the pain. Now, as you pointed to, this area, the front of your shoulder.
Yep.
So that's the most common area people do have a problem with. I also have also been through shoulder problems over the years. As always, misdiagnosed by pretty much everybody. Because the first thing what happens is practitioners tend to do is you say it hurts here, they'll go here.
Yep.
So as far as my approach goes, that's the last place I need to go. Because I already know that's going to hurt. I need to find out what we don't know. So I tend to look at everything. I'll start with neck movements. I'll look at the mid-back, the thoracic spine. Because if your middle of your back's stiff, then your shoulders can't move well. All right, with this one, you're lying on your side and you're pulling your right shoulder blade down towards your left butt cheek, basically in a diagonal. The elbow rests on the top of the pelvis there, and the weight goes all the way down to the stomach. And all we do is rotate simply up to just horizontal and down. The concentration shouldn't be on the hand. The concentration is on the shoulder blade. It's almost like a Las Vegas magician. You're watching the hand, but the hand itself isn't very important. It's what's happening at the shoulder blade for stability. What's happening, Scott's nice and relaxed on the upper trap. That lat is being engaged as he's pulling across. There's a fascial plane that runs from his right lat here across to his left glute, and we're using that to fix into for stability. So once again, repetitions here around about 25 sets, 2, and usually done twice a day.
Okay.
And since the nerves that come out to the shoulder come from the neck, we always have to check out what's happening in the neck.
Okay.
So if there's a neck dysfunction there, that could quite easily set up a problem in the shoulder.
All right, well, I do know I have some neck dysfunction, so we might find the trigger straight away.
Very easily, yep.
Yeah.
All right, so you're lying here with your arms out to the side, and now all you got to do is lift them a couple of centimetres off the ground. Good, and back down again. With this, we don't use any cueing. I'm not going to tell you what muscles I want you to use, because essentially, mechanically, you're in the best position right now for the muscles of the rhomboid and the middle trapezius, just to simply do the work without being told to do it. A lot of people make the mistake by trying to think about their muscle they're trying to activate. It's better to be almost a bit zen-like here. We just want to do the movement, and the movement will correct itself in this position. Sets and reps, usually 25 reps for 4 sets a day. I'll be looking at doing this for about a month within the program. This sets up that big bench that we're going to be looking for and enables the shoulder to get much more stable. So sometimes we'll find that there's elements to which we can improve on a neck. You might need to have a perfect neck to get away from shoulder pain. So, we can have some problems such as, disc bulges in the neck. We might have some arthritis in the neck. Some things we might not be able to change very well, but we might be able to change enough that we can fix the pain. So this is one of the reasons I think we find that Most people do bench pressing, for example, as probably one of the primary movements, and that's one of the reasons I think that we find people always say, there's where my dysfunction comes from, is that we do something very often, and there's also the idea that perhaps we're not balancing up with something else we should also doing as frequently. So if you imagine how many sets of bench press your average trainer does when they walk into a gym, you have to ask how many sets of upper back training do they do? Do they balance it out? Lats are a super important part of this because we're using the lats to stabilise with. So sometimes people don't really know how it is to feel their lats. And what you want to do is you want to imagine that you're trying to reach down to the ground, to reach with your middle finger down to the floor, just like that. Now, if you're doing that really tight, you can feel your lats come on there. Yep. Now, if you're doing that really well, I'll get you to do it again. Reach to the floor. I wouldn't be able to pull your arms out because your lats are pulling you down. Once again, those traps are soft up there. So if anyone gets tight necks during the day, this is a great way to relieve a tight neck too. Reaching for the ground, turn on the lats, turn off the traps. Knowing that you're a lover of all things kettlebell, yes. I've brought out the kettlebells today. We can always do this exercise as a dumbbell or a kettlebell movement. Again, we're tying in the lats for the shoulder stability with a row. As you're working that one arm row, keeping yourself stable by using your hand. Obviously, it's much better than bracing off a bench where we loosen up. So do this as a superset with the one arm band rows. So I tend to work with about somewhere between 8 and 10 reps on this, and we'll be doing it twice a day for a couple of sets. It's an activation exercise. It's to get you in touch with these lats so that later when we cue you onto different movements, you'll know how to pull them together. When it comes down to it, end stage rehab for me for shoulders often ends up with something like deadlifting. And people, do they know how to deadlift by using their lats?
No.
No, it's a really big thing to do. You want to be able to pull your armpit down towards your pelvis at the moment that you want to lift off. Set yourself up, pull the armpit down to the pelvis and locked into a really strong position. This engages the lats once again, locking the armpit down to the pelvis, and you're pulling off a really good strong deadlift position there, and the shoulders nicely depressed and wonderfully stable. So there we are in our shoulder rehab. This is our end stage work. Good work. Now when you're doing something big like big whole body movements, you also got to make sure your nutrition's up there. So I'm a big fan of using the Max's 10-1-1 branched chain amino acids. I think you've got to have good nutrition once again, and that's where towards that end stage of rehab, I'm looking at large amounts of big functional movements to counter the small movements that we have to start off with. So We'll start with activating the right muscles, we isolate the correct muscles, then we integrate them into a function.
Well, I have spent a bit of time with you in the past learning correct bench press technique and shoulder stability and the correct positioning of everything. So I think to a degree I've got the biomechanics down.
Always enjoy fixing up a great shoulder. Now you've got a lot of work out there, thousands of reps to do and some big benches to move in the future.
Great, thank you.
Stay big.
There's no cure for